So it's a Mazda 6 TS2, nice leather trim inside, sat nav. 175,000 miles on the clock, and engine is seized. The out of gear, auxiliary belt removed, engine still will not turn. I've put oil down the glow plugs to get past the piston rings, see whether or not it will free the pistons, but it still isn't turning, so it's going to be head off and see what's underneath. So removed all pipes, yeah, everything else all around, free the pipes, all this kind of stuff, yeah. So it's now time for the head to come off. Let's have a look. So it all looks fairly okay in the head. There's definitely oil up here, so you can see on the bolts. Doesn't look particularly dry, so it looks like oil's been getting up to the top from the pump. So yeah, nothing particularly bad in the rocker cover area anyway. So although the power assisted brakes failed at the end, which is the pump at that end, on the end of the cam, which would suggest that the cam's broken or snapped. If I pull on this, there is the tiniest bit of movement, so I know that the cam's not seized, so the problem's not the cam or in the head. So it's just recently had a nice new timing belt, already been down 1,000 miles, new belt tensioner as well. If these things leak oil, then you've got to replace them because it's not going to dampen properly on the pulley. That's crank sensor, so yeah, we'll get all this out of the way, take this off, see whether this turns on its own. God, this thing will not budge. So I think it's pretty safe to say it's the crank and bottom end that's seized. Yeah, I'll take the sump off and see if we can see anything from the bottom. So with the sump off, you can see that the sump oil filter is covered in crap, so that would have reduced oil flow, but we can still see that there's oil dripping out, so it's not like it was completely blocked. And we've got the pump here this end as well, so that's seized at the moment only because it's connected directly to the crank. So we're getting most of the cams off now and the head. That injector just will not come out, freaking stuck in like crazy. But, yeah, this is the cam now. Runs beautifully smooth, so no issues in the top here. So got most of the exhaust system off. Can't quite get the turbo off. Those 4 bolts at the back, these 4 brass ones here, are a pain in the royal arse. They are, they're on well tough. Got all the head bolts off, so it's time to move this thing off and see what's underneath. I'm hoping I'll find a burnt piston or something. So here we go. No, nothing. Oh my god. So I've taken the big end cap bearing caps off just to see whether it's what the problem is, and here they are. This is bearing cap number 5. The shell just falls out and it is completely and utterly shagged. It's the technical term. See, it's all just worn away. Same with bearing cap number 4. 3's okay, but a bit pitted. And then 2 is also starting to wear away. So yeah, I could have replaced the bearings, but whatever's caused it, it's obviously going to be an issue as well across so many of the bearings. So, frowny face. One dead car. So here we have the big end caps and the bearing shells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One's okay. 2's okay. Bit pitted though and flaking off a bit. 3 was okay, but a bit of pitting. 4. Jeez. Just falling apart everywhere. It's heavily scored. Burring off the edges. And 5, pretty much the same as well. So 5's at the gearbox end. Yeah, pretty much game over. 175,000 miles, regular oil changes every 10,000 miles, and still ends up like this. So I was thinking of salvaging the oil pump, but if it's been pumping this stuff around for a little while, I'd imagine the pump's pretty much had it too. So just taking a closer look, but it looks like it might have been an oil supply issue. So these are all nice and wet, and this one is completely dry. There's no oil on it at all. So it's possible we failed to get oil down at this end of the bearings. So end cap removed. Completely and utterly destroyed. That's no oil lubricating that at all. You see the oil filler hole is filled with bits of the shell, bearing shell. That's why this engine died. Could be reground, new shells put in, but for 175,000 miles on a 10-year-old car, it's not worth it. So here we go. This is the bad end. Bird over, major scoring, overheated. You can see the blue colours on here as well. The main bearing, again bird, major scoring. Next one, not so bad, but still, it's all falling apart. A bit of rubbing. Again, shiny. This one's almost intact, just a little bit of speckling. This one just rubbed the groove slightly very on here. And then this end, just a little bit of pitting or a bit of deposits on there. Pretty much all shagged. And pistons moving in and out nicely. So there's never anything wrong with those, just the bearings. So this is the piston from the destroyed end. So major scoring on the piston, which has got the first oil silicon just completely filled, and it's just snapped off. The second ring is seized and just won't move. Just stuck, and the top one's okay still. But, yeah, none of this is going back together. It's you Mazda. So here we are, this piston completely knackered, burnt out and scored. As you can see, burnt out, the blues on here. Next piston starting to heat up. The wear across these, it seems fairly similar. All rings intact still, so that was a surprise. Cylinder number 3, when it took out, this came out with it. So the second piston ring had gone. But generally bearings and wear okay, and then final piston all okay. No heating, nothing, just yeah, a good one. But 3 of them stuffed.